Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan the Ride Mechanic channel. How the heck are you doing today? All right, it's early morning. I've woken up early today. It's going to be a hot one. I'm recording the day before 4th of July. I don't want to say what day it is, but it's the day before 4th of July. So you can figure that out on your own. But this is an early morning video for me, so it's kind of different than my normal videos. So got to do a little bit more warm up, have a little bit more coffee. Realize like, oh, I gotta fix my shirt a little bit. Maybe try to get this part of my hair to not flop over. Clear my throat excessively. Warm up the voice a little bit. Yeah. Steel Vengeance is the best. Steel Vengeance is the best. Steel Vengeance. Fuck Skyline. Fuck Skyline. Fuck Skyline. Fuck Skyline. Fuck that thing. Stay off the air gates. Warm up the voice a little bit. There we go. Unnecessary camera angle changes. For those who like rubber bananas, I have good news for you. All right, today's video, I want to talk about relocating Arieforce One. You guys, in the terms of Casper site, you have been doing maximum blowing up my email about, can you please say something about Arieforce One? Rest in peace, right? I've done a video about relocating rides. I've done subjects close to it, but we're going to talk about Arieforce One today specifically, so let's get right into it.
Now get ready. Here we go.
All right, if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Check out some more videos. I have plenty of them. Okay, today's topic, it's a very pointed topic. I normally don't do things this like laser focused, but I wanted to do this one today just because a lot of you have been asking me, hey, what are your thoughts on this? First of all, there's a statement put out by FunSpot. Let's read that. Okay, it says, FunSpot America announces closure of the Atlanta park. Basically, FunSpot America announced today that its Atlanta location will permanently close following its final day in operation August 2nd, 2026. Since opening, the park has welcomed millions of guests and created lasting memories for families throughout the region. This was an extremely difficult decision, said John Ari Jr., Chief Executive Officer of the FunSpot America. Our Atlanta team has poured their hearts into serving our guests and creating a place where families could have fun together. We are deeply grateful for their dedication and for the support we have received from the Fayetteville community. Probably saying that wrong. The company will work closely with team members throughout the transition and is committed to treating the employees with respect and providing support resources during this period. Definitely need more coffee. Normal daily park operations will continue from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. through August 2nd, 2026 season. Season passes and gift cards will remain valid at the Atlanta park throughout the date and will continue to be honored at FunSpot America's Orlando and Kissimmee, Florida locations. Information regarding group events and trips and other outstanding reservations will be shared with affected guests in the coming weeks. FunSpot America will continue operating its Orlando and Kissimmee, Florida locations. We are proud of the memories created in Atlanta and grateful to everyone who has been part of this chapter of our story. Okay, so that's a statement. Arieforce One. Let's take a look at the ride first. Let's do an on-ride POV. I believe this is from Front Seat's POV. Let's do the on-ride POV first and talk about the ride itself. Okay, so Arieforce One won a Golden Ticket Award for the best new coaster of 2023, featuring a 150-foot drop, 64-mile-per-hour speed for inversions. It's a good-looking ride, honestly. And everyone who rides it says it's one of their top coasters. It's a favorite for them, for sure. So that's good. It's a lot of positive. Now, it's built by RMC. It was built in 2023. I'll get into some of that stuff in a little bit. It is a ground-up RMC construction. So what does that mean? This is not a normal haircut-style RMC ride. A haircut style, from what I'm referring to, is when you take a previously running wooden coaster and you essentially take the top of it off, you give it a haircut to form a new shape, and RMC does a track overlay with it. This is a standard RMC process that they do. They take an old piece of equipment, put a new track on it, new layout, and you get a fresh RMC machine. Now, this is not that case. They started with nothing and built this from the ground up. So that's what I'm saying. It's not a haircut style. This is a ground up style device. So one of the cool things about this is that it looks from afar kind of like a wooden roller coaster, but in fact it is steel. It's steel beams everywhere. It's all steel. This is actually a big plus because you can actually easily take all those steel components apart, simply remove them, replace the hardware, and reconstruct it somewhere else. In fact, all you have to do to relocate the ride is build the footer that the ride sits on the exact same way, and you could just take the ride from one spot and put it in another spot. It's a good thing. The cost is a little bit different on this one. So I looked online and just a general Google search came back with a range. It said 13 to 18 million. I saw on the news where they said, oh, this was a $15 million install. So it's like, okay, closer to 15 to 18 million. So we're going to say we're going to use that range, and we're just going to say, okay, we're going to use 13 million was the price of the ride, and 18 million was the price of the install. So we put those two together. 18 minus 13, you get $5 million difference. So it was a $5 million install, if that makes sense, which sounds about right for a ride like that. It doesn't have, crazy theming. It's got a nice station building, but it doesn't have a bunch of crazy theming or anything else like that. So a $5 million install for a $13 million ride sounds about right. The numbers just kind of sound right. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of you out there saying, no, here's the exact number. It was actually 15. The news company had it right. Okay, that's fine. But we're going to look at just the numbers because this is actually not going to boil down to which park wants to get this ride. This is actually going to boil down to a numbers game. And it's something that a lot of people don't want to hear. FunSpot is closing this location. What does that mean? Well, FunSpot didn't go out of business. They had 3 locations. They're simply just closing down one of those locations. So FunSpot is still in business. Okay, who cares? Well, the business does. You have assets and you have liabilities when it comes to business. Assets are things you own, things that can generate revenue, and liabilities are things that you owe, things that you have to pay. For example, when you buy a car, your car is nothing but a liability because you are making payments on it. You do not own it. Until you own it, then it becomes an asset. And then you own that. It could make you money. It could, but you now own that car, but there's no other source of money going out to it. All right, so since FunSpot is still in operation, it's still in operation to other things, that ride, Arieforce One, is still sitting on their books. So they can't just release the ride to anybody who wants it because it's still on their books. In fact, it's still undergoing depreciation. So depreciation is when you take one of your devices or one of your assets, anything like that, it's something you buy and you say you depreciate its value, which means it's still worth something. Let's go back to cars. Have you ever heard of the Kelley Blue Book on a car? That means when you purchased your car, you purchased it for, let's say, $50,000. Well, 10 years from now, it's not worth $50,000. Kelley Blue Book says it's now worth $5,000. So it has depreciated in its value. It's depreciated $45,000. Now, parks, any business does the same thing. They take something that they purchase and they depreciate the value of it. But at the same time, they're also still paying back the value of that. Typically, loans for rides can last anywhere between 7 to 15 years. Depreciation scales can last 15 to 20 years. So there's kind of like you're paying it off at the same time it's going down, but at the end, it's yours. And the ride will draw people into the front gate. Hopefully, that's what every park is looking for, to where once the asset is paid off and once it's depreciated all the way, it will still be making you money. And then that's where just your profit comes back into. So that is the problem here. It's not the problem that a park can buy it somewhere else. The problem is the fact that it is still a new ride. This was purchased in 2023. This was installed in 2023, which is just 3 years ago. That's it. It hasn't depreciated that much. So when you look at it on the books, let's say we'll use $18 million, right? Because typically the cost of the installation is also put into the depreciation. They just go down at different rates because they can do different rates off of the installation versus the ride itself differently, right? There's a lot of math nerd stuff going on in the background that I can't even dabble in because it's all straight over my head, especially at this time in the morning. So if we use the $18 million mark, because we're going to add the installation cost to it as well, and then we're going to say 18 divided by, let's say 15 years for depreciation, that's going to be the scale. It comes out to like $1.2 million per year of depreciation, which means right now it's only depreciated $3.6 million. That's it. Well, you minus that off the top of 18. Well, they are still depreciating and probably still have to pay for roughly $14.4 million. So people, they say, oh yeah, they could just, this park can come in and just grab that ride. No, they can't. The ride is actually still worth $14.4 million. Well, the park is closing. It's like, I understand. But just because you buy a car and then you say, I'm going to move out of my house, well, your car is, you're still making payments on your car. That doesn't matter. The fact that you move, that's your decision. Again, the company fund spot still exists. They still owe the money. They still owe the money to a bank. They're still depreciating those assets, even though the park's location is going to close. Now, the other stuff, the go-karts, those little kiddie rides that they have there, those are easily transportable to their next place. They could just go put them at one of their other locations, add more go-karts to their inventory, put those little rides somewhere else. They could sprinkle them around. They are not hard to move. Arieforce One is going to be a bit bigger. Now, the news media already got a statement from RMC, which I'm going to read off to you here. RMC was questioned about moving Arieforce One since that's the hot topic right now, and RMC responded with, "The coaster is definitely movable," wrote Darren Torr, probably getting that wrong again, sorry, president of Rocky Mountain Construction. Based on ranking by Coaster Enthusiast, it's a top 10 coaster in the world. It has an angle iron structure, which means it will require new hardware. It has some topography changes, so a new site will need to be modified or the structure will need to be reworked to match a site elevation. Ballpark, to the cost of the move, it's probably $10 million less than building a new one. All right, so the key thing here is that it's an angle iron structure, which again just means you take it apart piece by piece. You buy new hardware because pretty much no one will recertify the structure with the original hardware, because once hardware has been torqued and you untorque it, you pretty much have to throw it away. That's kind of part of the ASTM standard, unless the hardware has special engineering behind it that says it can be reused. Most every single fastener on every single ride out there, as soon as you untorque that fastener, you throw it away and you get a new one and you torque it again. I don't remember if all the structure bolts are torqued to yield, but they're pretty high up there to the point where most every manufacturer says never reuse that stuff, just buy new things. So you need brand new hardware to basically hold the ride together. That is the cost. We already know that you're going to have to install it, which FunSpot spent $5 million-ish on the install. So you can assume the next park will have to spend $5 million-ish on the install. It's like, okay, well, the next park also has to take the first one down, right? For every erection, eventually it goes away, right? So when the erection goes away, that company has to pay for the taking down of the old erection. So once that company comes in and says, hey, company X wants to purchase Arieforce One, well, part of that $5 million-ish install that they're going to have at their new park is they're going to have to add on about probably, I'm guessing, another $2 million to take it down at the other site. So what does that mean? They have to send a crew there. I'm imagining RMC would be the best since they're the ones that put it up. You just hire RMC back and say, hey, take this down. So they will take it down. They will take all the track pieces down. They will put it onto big trucks, and you have to hire a trucking company to drive it from location A to location B, and that cost will vary via how many trucks you have to move, and over what period of time. Is it during the summer? Is it during the winter? All these things affect shipping prices. So already we take the baseline $5 million install and we now add $2 million on top of it. So now it's a $7 million install. It's like, okay, now that probably does not include all the permitting necessary to get the ride actually up and running. Because remember, this is just the bare nuts of putting the thing back together. All right, so once you take it to its new site, it's got to go through an erection all over again. It's got to be put back together. That's the good thing about the steel structures, though, is because they are just nuts and bolts. And then you put the thing together, and it's done. It's not a big deal. You build the footers back to the same way. Okay, now here's one of the things I see where everyone is kind of going off the deep end, which isn't really that big of a deal. They're always taking the structure of this, which if you look at it from an aerial, kind of looks like an L. Looks like an L shape with a loop on one side. Everyone's taking the structure and they're trying to copy and paste it into their park. Because I've seen this from everybody now. Everyone's like, look, my park, here it fits. You could tell. People that aren't at Six Flags parks, they're putting it in the middle of forests and stuff like that. Six Flags parks, they're trying to fit it into the parking lot because obviously new roller coasters are installed in parking lots in Six Flags parks. Don't know why. Prove me wrong. Anyways, so they're taking this L-shaped structure and they're putting it all over the place. And it's like, well, you don't understand. When you move something, it has to change. RMC said it themselves. The topography has to match. What's topography? Well, that is your ground. That's your elevation change. There's roughly I can't remember what it was. It's like I think I heard it was like a 40-foot elevation change from one side of the thing to the other. It's like, okay, 40 feet's not that hard to deal with. So you could do one of two things. If you have 40 feet roughly of elevation change in your land where it's going to sit, perfect, no big deal. You just pour your footers, done with it. If you don't have that, you have to make that. If it's flat ground, then you have to dig into the ground or build up ground on one side and dig into it on the other side, which it's always going to be down because building up doesn't really work in most areas unless it's a natural mountain. That you can't compress the soil enough to get the footers to stick right unless you build these huge piers, which you're just building elevated piers, not very cost effective. But you can also go to RMC and say, we don't have the 40-foot elevation change. What can you do to make this right? Because it's basically a giant erector set with all these little tiny parts and pieces all over it, RMC can just go backwards, take the old topography, the new topography, overlay the two and say all these little pieces have to be modified. So either the old pieces can go back to RMC and they simply will cut them, weld pieces onto them, or refabricate them to make them the new size and shape that they will have to be for the new installation. That's not a lot of cost when you're looking at $7 million of an install. So you can also go to RMC at the same time and say, you know what, I can't fit this. Can we do this in line? You know, that's got a bend in the middle of it. Can we just make it straight? Like a true out and back coaster. That'll cost just a little bit more, but RMC can go, well, yeah, sure, we could bend new rails. And we can say, yeah, we're gonna take the bends out of it essentially. And they will take it in their system and rework it and make new track pieces to basically take old existing structures, take the bend out of it, and make it straight in the center. Again, a little bit more money, not that much, so it doesn't have to fit in the classic L shape. Will that be the cheapest? Yes, it will. To fit on the correct topography, the cheapest again. So what are we looking at for cost to relocate this ride? Well, what did we say? $14.4 million is the cost of the ride, plus $7 million on top of that. 14 plus 7, right? That's $21.4 million to purchase for that ride. That sounds like you're up against the cost of a new ride, brand new ride. Well, you are. Does it make sense to relocate that ride? Most companies won't spend all that time and effort to relocate that ride unless it gets them something. And typically it's the cost. It's going to be cheaper. Like if this were 10 years, 15 years later, and that ride had depreciated in its value and another park can come in and get a song and dance and pay for that ride, and then they were just out, let's say they bought the ride for $4 million and it needed $7 million for complete relocation and installation. Then it's like, okay, 4 plus 7. I have to do the math. Hold on. 8, 9, 10, 11. It's $11 million for a new coaster to them. That's not bad, right? That's not bad. That's a lot of parks could do that. It's like, okay, but $21.4 million? A lot of parks aren't going to do that. So what are we looking at? Is the ride just forced to sit there and rot? It's like, well, no. Again, Fun Spot still exists. It just doesn't exist in that location. So the cheapest thing for Fun Spot to do would actually be just to pay the $5 to $7 million and actually relocate that ride to one of their own parks. Now, I've seen lots of people already saying, look, it won't fit in their parks because of the L-shaped. Remember what I just said? You don't have to make it the L-shape. You spend a little bit more and you could change how it works. You could change the land it sits on, everything. So this is a good fit for Fun Spot to simply relocate to one of their existing parks. One that has a big parking lot maybe in it. We'll go Six Flags and stick that thing in the parking lot and make it a true out and back style coaster. They could do something like that. As far as all the other people out there that are like, oh, Park X is going to pick it up. King's Dominion is going to pick it up. All these other things. Heck, I'm sitting here in Nebraska going, well, Vala's Pumpkin Patch could really use a 150-foot RMC. Like, I would not be adverse to that. Opened up 2 months out of the year. That would really give people a reason to come out to Nebraska. But I don't think that's going to be the case. But it's like, okay, is it relocatable? Absolutely. Is it easy? Because the structure's steel and it's not a wood structure? Yes, it's actually very easy to do. Can you deal with the topography? Yes. 40-foot elevation change, roughly? Sure, no problem. That's easy. Excavators do work like that all the time. That is not a big deal, especially if you're dealing with flatter land, not so much on the side of the hill. Layout shape, a little bit more expensive, but you can change it from that L to something straight or even to a U shape and make it even tighter. Yep, you can do that as well. It's all just reworking from the ride manufacturer. Ride manufacturer built it once already. It's easy for them to just plug it back in and simply just rework the numbers and build you a couple of pieces of new track to get it to fit in an entirely new configuration. So is it likely that another park is going to buy it? I don't think. I don't think another park is going to buy it. I think it's too much money. Again, if we were dealing with the ride 10 years down the road, completely different story. Even if we were dealing with a wooden structure, different story, because the cost of reworking the structure wouldn't be there. It's much cheaper to relocate a full wood roller coaster and essentially rebuild the structure than it is to rework a steel structure. It's typically not their intent. Every manufacturer can do it though. You could take almost any B&M coaster and just move it somewhere and say, B&M, I'm going to put this right here in this spot. And they will go, okay, they'll get the topography from you and they'll make new columns for you. Will it be cheap? No, but you could do it. Absolutely. Voice is warming up. I think coffee's kicking in. Skyline. That sounds a lot better now. So at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. Again, at the same time all this is unwinding, Fun Spot is also going to have that land sitting there, which is going for what? Up for sale? We don't know what's going to happen with the land. What's happening with the land will drive whatever happens with that ride. If they sell the land off and the ride's not gone, it's like, well, they got to do something with it. Is it going to be torn down? I really don't think it's going to be torn down. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. Of course, it didn't make sense to tear down King Dakar either. I was wrong about that one, obviously. But so you never know. But I doubt they're going to take a 3-year-old roller coaster and tear it down. But again, you never know what goes through some place's mind. It might be cheaper for them to write off the whole ride and just tear the thing down than it would be to actually move it. I really, 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 really doubt that is the case. It's going to go somewhere. If I'm putting money on something, I say it's going to another Fun Spot location. It's not going to be taken down at the end of 2026 and then reinstalled at 2027. It's going to probably take a couple years if Fun Spot does that, because they're going to have to open up a whole nother project, a whole nother loan to move it from A to B, and they're going to have to justify that money again, but very possible. Could a Six Flags park step in and buy it? Absolutely, they could. Could they probably relocate it cheaper with some of their resources and things like that? They might be able to relocate it cheaper, but it better fit on the right topography in the right area. It better be literally just a copy paste into another area, which, I mean, there are plenty of parking lots out there that it will fit in. I'm not really concerned about that. I just don't see Six Flags right now, or Enchanted Parks, or whatever they're called. I don't see them putting the big money up to buy that ride when it's not a world record holder of some sort, because that's Flags is all about that. They're all about the title. We have the biggest, we have the tallest, we have the most steel, we have the roundest wheels. Like they're whatever they could throw a title on for the news media, they're going to do that. So looking at overall transfer of the ride, $5 to $7 million to transfer it internally versus 20 to 25 million to transfer it externally outside of the FunSpot Corporation. I think it's a no-brainer to keep it in FunSpot, assuming they just want to pay the extra money to get it to fit in a different location, which it could also go the route of like Speed the Ride and some of these other ones out there where it makes it to a boneyard and it sits there for 10 years until it depreciates, and then another company can come in and buy it for a song and dance. Anyways, that's my thought on it. This is all just my personal thoughts. I don't have anybody on the inside. I don't do anything like that. The rumors are going absolutely wild with it going everywhere, which mathematically I don't see it, but you never know. You never know what this industry is going to do. This industry does some pretty crazy stuff sometimes. All right. I think that's about it for this video. Like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff downstairs. It does help me out. I do appreciate it. If you want to contact me, just comments down below. I try to read everything. If you want to email me, you can always email me at ryantheridermechanic@yahoo.com. And as always, stay off the air gates, even if they're relocated. Bye.